Hello, woohoo, we're live.
Hello. What's up, St. Pete Time Bank? My name is Ramona Brayboy, your Time Bank podcast host for St. Petersburg, and this is Laura. Please tell me how you pronounce your last name.
Oladine.
Old Danny, okay? And she is here today. She is the founder of Rich and Resilient Living, as well as a green living and money coach. Don't we all need to know how to manage our money? So, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ramona, and hosting this conversation and stepping up to take on these time bank interviews.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Something I always wanted to do. And I've been seeing you around the way quite a bit. You know, we see each other, we run in the same circles here and there. And I wanted to know basically, kind of tell the people what you want them to know about you.
Sure. Well, in addition to being a green living and money coach, I guess as part of that, I'm very interested in sustainability and alternative currencies and things like time banking. And that all factors into my green living and money coaching. And it led me to find some like-minded people. And last year we co-wrote a book. So I'm also an author, and our
Oh,
book is
okay.
called Growing Free. Financially resilient and economically empowered is what the free stands for. And then our subtitle is Building the Life of Your Dreams Without Losing Your Soul or Destroying the Planet.
Oh, that's important, right?
So, there are a lot of personal finance and money books out there that tell us how to build wealth in very extractive and oppressive ways. And so, those are ways that exacerbate and perpetuate our social and environmental problems. But there are ways that we can build wealth that do the opposite, that address those social and environmental challenges. And I think time banking is such a beautiful example of a way that we can enrich our lives and our communities through positive exchanges, that are nourishing and reparative and community building. And so I'm a big fan of time banking.
That's great. How did you first find out about the time bank?
So I knew about time banking as a concept before I moved back to St. Pete. So I've lived in the area again. I'm actually in Gulfport, but just,
Okay.
very much part of St. Pete.
Gulfport representing. Yes,
Yes.
that's where I went to elementary school. You're right. It's very much St. Pete.
Yes, yes. And so was living in Washington, D.C., and I learned about time banking, and there was a time bank in that area that I joined right as it was kind of fizzling out because it is a heavy lift to keep them going. And we're very fortunate in St. Pete to have had BJ, get us off, make such a heavy lift and get us off to such a strong start. And then, having a team of people to help keep it moving along our board. I'm just so grateful to them.
Yeah,
So,
shout out to BJ,
yes,
Sandy, and all on the board
yes,
for making this possible.
very
All the
much.
time bankers. We love.
Yes, yes, and the people who participate and
Yes,
create exchanges and organizations that participate. So I
yes.
knew about it when I before I got here, and I actually had my parents live in Seminole, and they have lived in Seminole for the past 30 plus years. And so even when I didn't live here, I was coming home to visit them. And at one point when I was visiting my mom, it was probably 10 years ago now, I saw that there was going to be a meeting about time banking at the Unity Church there. I think it's on 4th Street. I forget where, 4th or 9th Street. And
Yeah, 4th Street, Unity here in
okay,
St. Pete. Yeah.
yeah. And this was before St. Pete Time Bank even existed. This was
Okay.
a meeting with a conversation with Marie Nelson and a few other people around the Tampa Bay Time Bank. And so I knew about the Tampa Bay Time Bank when I first moved back 7 years ago, having been at that meeting, and I joined right away. But living in St. Pete, that time bank, it's a wonderful thing, but so many people are spread out over Tampa Bay, and it was just not as conducive for me to conduct exchanges. So when I
Mm-hmm.
learned that BJ was going to create the St. Pete Time Bank, I was super excited, and I was, one of the early members because I was at even the meeting she was having before it was officially launched.
Oh, cool. That's really cool. So you're there, one of the OGs of the Time Bank here in St. Pete. That's really
Yep.
awesome. So I wanted to find out, like, what is something that you offer or that you want on St. Pete Time Bank that you have posted or have yet to post?
I'm not sure that I have any standing offers per se. I have posted requests.
Okay.
As a new YouTuber, for example, myself, I've posted new videos and asked people to watch and like them and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I
Yes. So tell them right now, like, watch, and subscribe to her YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
It's my name, Laura Oladine. You can just type that into YouTube and it will take you to my channel. So thank you for that opportunity, Ramona. And
Yes.
definitely subscribe to the St. Pete Time Bank YouTube channel. I've done that, and I love it when the videos just auto pop up in my feed, and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that one yet. I watched one a couple weeks ago that popped up from when BJ was making these, and it was someone she'd interviewed from another time bank who has a lot
Right.
of history with time banks. And this woman was talking about how she and her husband would go on time bank dates, and I
Ooh,
loved that idea
that's pretty cute.
through the offers and thinking about how can you make a date out of a time banking activity. So I've written that down. I haven't told Albert about it yet, but I keep that in the back of my mind. I'd like to at least do that once and maybe try to make
Yes,
it
do
more
a
of a
time
habit.
bank date. Yeah, I would like. I'm gonna just put it out there. Time bank, set up speed dating for us single folks on the time bank. Okay, Mama's trying to get hooked up. All right. No, so also, okay, cool. So those are some of the things that you have offered.
Yes. Well, my offers tend to be less standing offers like that I create in the software long term. But for example, I do a good bit of dumpster diving. And
Okay.
so when I've had excess food, I have, posted it on the time bank and offered, extra produce or things that we've rescued that it's more than we can use for time bank credits. I actually took BJ and somebody else or dumpster diving for their first time, and they gave me time bank credits for taking them
Oh,
dumpster
yeah, that
diving.
sounds like fun. I've never dumpster dived before, but I would like to do such a thing. It sounds very sustainable and radical and special all in the same breath. I've heard of people doing it for makeup. I hadn't thought about doing it for food, but I mean, I know that a lot of these companies, because I've worked at a company like where if some things are expired, they make you throw them away and you're not allowed to use them, which is ridiculous. Because if it's like you're going to throw them away, why wouldn't you just give it to your employees?
Yes.
Um, so that's really cool because I heard of a food truck recently called 360 Eats where they take food that different like places like Publix we're going to throw away and they prepare it and they give away free meals. So that
Oh,
is really
cool.
cool. What do you do your dumpster diving for? What is your purpose?
Well, largely because the level of waste and the acceptance of waste in our society infuriates me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, from a sustainability standpoint, from an economic standpoint as well, it's so striking to me how these things really aren't waste because there's no such thing as waste. There are only misdirected resources and poorly designed systems.
Yes.
If we thought this through more, we would come up with ways to handle all of this so it didn't end up in a landfill or like it does
Right.
here in Pinellas County in our incinerator. We have a waste to energy facility in Pinellas County. And so especially the food waste, which a lot of it is so wet, it makes the burn at our facility less efficient.
Right, right.
So certainly it started from the sustainability perspective, but certainly the financial aspect of it is significant as well. I spend very little money on food, and I eat very well.
Let's talk about that. How do you spend very little money on food? We all need to learn that.
Well, it's largely dumpster diving.
Okay.
That, and then growing some of my food, having a boyfriend that grows a lot of food, foraging. I'm always constantly riding around on my bike here in our area, noticing where are the mangoes that are falling in the alleyway? Where are the avocados just rotting on the sidewalks? Where are the lychees falling? There's so much food around us that we overlook and don't think about what we could do with it. Free food.
That's
so
smart.
I think that's part of it. And then, bartering those things. I've gone around and rescued that fruit and bartered for eggs or, other things, or traded or
you're thinking smart instead of hard. Okay. You're not thinking, how can I make more money? You're thinking, how can I gather the resources that are already available to me?
Very, very much so. And I think that is a huge mind shift that is so empowering for people in terms of building wealth. If we truly want to, and I'm not talking about, billionaire level wealth. I'm talking about more of a true wealth, a sense of resilience, because we are fed this message of scarcity. Capitalism needs us to believe this message of scarcity to keep us trapped on that earn and spend hamster wheel that perpetuates capitalism. But when we can slow down and really question things and look and, take advantage of those resources that are there, and make use of them and recognize them, we can step back from that fear and scarcity mindset and escape that capitalism trap.
Yes, I totally feel you on that, because it feels like you can't work. It's not about just working hard, because if we're talking about just working hard, everybody would, a lot of people would be rich, right? So it's not about just working hard, right? It's about you got to be creative and be strategic, right? So I am a little extra interested in this dumpster diving thing. So
sure.
Where would somebody start with the whole dumpster dive philosophy?
Well, so the first time I did it, I didn't live here yet, but I knew of a co-housing place outside in the DC area where there were people that lived there that went dumpster diving regularly to source food for the people that lived in the house. And so I went with them. They took people new to dumpster diving with them out with them. And so that was, I would say find someone who goes dumpster diving if you can, or at least talk to them first. And if not, when I got here to St. Pete and started dumpster diving, at first I started out by going at night after the stores had closed, because that felt a lot less intimidating. And so I do think that can be a good way. It got to the point, though, where I like to go to bed at 10 o'clock. So sometimes that kept me out later than I wanted to be out. For young people, that's great.
Yeah.
Being out late if they want to be out late. So, I started by going out at night after the shops had closed. Then I started seeing at certain stores. Well, actually, before that, I'll even say there are also often independently owned produce markets where they will set out the produce that is, so far gone that they can't sell it, but it might still be good. They'll set it out in boxes, maybe behind their store. There are a couple of places that will do that in the area. They set it out so people can take it, either to compost or to sort through and take what's good. So that can be a place to start, is
Lovely.
finding those local small produce stands and
Okay.
finding out, if they're throwing things away and taking.
Yeah.
And then, once I did start dumpster diving, I realized that, some places were more tolerant of it,
Mm-hmm.
and so then I would just start going during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say that I think, I want to acknowledge that there's some white skin privilege in
Yeah.
this. I think,
True
to
story.
be able to be at a dumpster and
Right.
be seen by store employees and just have them say, you need to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, being in a car that's, decently maintained,
Right.
being dressed, I'm not the best dressed person, but there's a certain presence that I
Mm-hmm.
have, but I do think there's some privilege in that. So that's, for people to take into
Something
consideration.
to consider. Yes, yes. So
Yes,
what about is this a legal practice, or is this kind of like a off the grid living situation?
it
I mean, I
is.
hate to bring that up,
It
but
is more rogue. Thank you for
rogue.
saying this.
Yeah.
This conversation is for informational and educational purposes
Only.
only. This is our disclaimer. This is
That's
not legal
right.
advice
Okay,
about
got you, got
dumpster
you.
diving, just to keep
Okay,
us
well, that's cool.
all safe.
Another thing I wanted to know about is how did you become an author? Like, how did you get into uh, talking about rich and resilient living?
Well, for me, it started um, earlier on when I started in putting money into retirement accounts. The offerings that were available to me were to put the money in stocks and bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And the stocks, are things like sugary beverages, companies that, sell sugary beverages,
Right, right, right.
bank financial institutions with predatory lending institutions, and that really didn't feel good to me. Even the
Mm-hmm.
more socially responsible stocks, and options on Wall Street still kept my money supporting things that I don't want my money to be supporting. I'm working so hard. I'm out there dumpster diving. I'm not using chemicals in my yard. I'm really trying to help people. Why do I want to be investing my retirement funds in things that are completely negating the things I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing with the rest of my life? And
Right.
so it got me questioning that. And then I just, after starting to question that, I discovered permaculture.
Okay.
And, permaculture, what most people know it for is applying it for in our yards and our landscapes. But it's so much more than that. It's a very rich toolkit where we look to nature as the model, and we can apply that in all areas of our lives. Nature is continually enriching itself through synergistic relationships. And
Yes.
so I wanted to, when I got to permaculture, I really started delving in the chapters in the back of the book where they were talking about economics and finance and investing. And so I started on this journey to really look at wealth building through the lens of permaculture.
Mm.
And along the way, I met another person in the permaculture space who was asking these same questions, looking for into the permaculture texts for the same resources, and we started collaborating and teaching a class together, and that led us to write our book.
Okay, now who's your co-author?
So his name is Mike Hoag, Hoag, and his
Okay.
business is called Transformative Adventures.
Lovely.
He's based in the Midwest. So we do all, we've actually never met in person.
Really, to this day.
Yep.
Look at that. You can just make whole friends and be doing whole businesses and you'll never have to meet in person. That is really cool. So explain permaculture a little bit for people who may not know what that means.
Sure. Permaculture is this very rich design toolkit. It's a set of design principles. And so again, usually it's, people think of food forests in their yards
Right.
or soils. It's basically trying to create a lot of synergistic relationships.
Yes.
And so, if you're thinking about it in your yard, you're thinking about like guilds, like planting a larger tree with some surrounding trees that are going to be very supportive and do well growing near that tree.
Hmm.
But we can also apply it to the built environment. So thinking about more sustainability in the building materials we use, using more natural and locally available building materials. For building, it often goes against current codes, so
Right.
it's harder to apply that in our regularly, but we can be smarter in how, in using solar, how we
Mhm.
position houses so that there's more shade, that they're oriented to, especially here in Florida for passive cooling. So we don't have to rely on our air conditioners as much.
Right,
So,
totally. Because we're totally
there's
different. I
the
know I am. Speaking of synergistic relationships, we'll go ahead and shout out. You say you mentioned your boyfriend a couple of times. I heard he won Gulfportian of the Year or something like that. I've been to the house and seen the garden and learned. I've been posting it on my Facebook, which you can follow me at Ramona Elizabeth on Facebook. How can they find you on Facebook, by the way?
So I am on Facebook at I believe it's Rich and Resilient. I'm not sure. I do less on Facebook. It's best to find me on Instagram or
Okay.
TikTok, where I am at Rich_Resilient.
Rich underscore resilient. Two
Yeah.
things we need to be. Okay, go check her out on Facebook and Instagram primarily. Any other social media sites we can find you on?
Those are the two we mentioned my YouTube channel, and my website is richandresilientliving.com.
Okay, richandresilientliving.com. Okay, so more about your boo. How'd y'all meet?
So we actually, how'd we meet? It's a funny story.
Hmm.
So again, before I had even moved back to St. Pete, I had come to visit my parents. And I went one night to an event that was a sweat lodge and a fire walk all at the same time.
Interesting.
I was going for the sweat lodge part of it, but I couldn't tell what was going to be first and at what time what the fire walk would be and what time the sweat lodge would be. So I
Okay.
got there during the fire walk, and Albert happened to be there. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know of him, but he was walking a lot over the coals. So I noticed him. But what I really noticed him for is because then I stayed for the sweat lodge. And at that point, I was considering moving somewhere. I knew I was going to move somewhere. I had sold my house in DC, and I was a nomad at that point. And I knew that one of the places I wanted to that wherever I wanted to go, it was needed to be someplace where it was a bicycle friendly community. And so
Okay.
I was paying attention to if people were riding their bikes and how easily it was to live a bike oriented life. And I noticed that there was a bike at this event. And at the end of the sweat lodge, I saw Albert go to that bike. And so,
Okay.
I mentally registered that this is, someone rode a bike. So this says something for this community. But I
Okay.
never talked to him. I could have never seen him again. And then you'll appreciate this.
Hmm.
Something else that I did while I was here in the area during that visit with my parents is I went to a SUAC annual meeting. I had
Yeah.
looked into permaculture in this area and had started coming to SUAC meetings when I would visit my parents to just get connected to the permaculture community here.
Yes.
At that annual meeting, Albert happened to be wearing a shirt about fire walking. And if he hadn't worn that shirt, I would not have put it together.
You wouldn't have known he was the one with the bike at the firewalk.
Yes, exactly.
Look at that.
So then I went up and chatted with him, and I went over to his house to see what he was doing in his yard with permaculture. I started attending his yoga class.
Oh, I didn't know he taught yoga.
Yeah,
Cool.
he has a class every Friday and Sunday morning at 10 o'clock on Gulfport Beach. He's been doing it for
Ooh.
8 years now. It's got
Okay.
a wonderful following. It's a wonderful community of people, a lot of regulars. And then he'll teach evening classes on the nights of the new and full moon. And so
Okay,
sometimes they'll get, 100 plus people out there on the beach under the full moon. It's a
that's
wonderful
awesome.
experience.
Yeah, Gulfport Beach is lovely. Just can't swim in it, right? Because of some bad practices, right? That what we're talking about, not practicing permaculture,
Yeah.
not controlling the waste and things of that nature. So FYI, if you're not from here and you've been swimming in Gulfport Beach, stop. So, okay, that's really cool. So, look at that. Yeah, I didn't know you met your boo at a SUAC meeting, and SUAC stands for Sustainable Urban Agricultural Coalition. Gonna give them a brief shout out. They're one of our big sponsors at the Sunshine Fresh Market, which we'll be having this May 14th, May 13th, this Saturday from 3 to 8 p.m. So, if you're not busy, we'd love for you to come out, show people your book, and also, just volunteer. So if anybody wants to help clean up the waste in our community, we're partnered with Keeping Pinellas Beautiful for the whole Deuces community. We do cleanups on the regular, plantings on the regular, and SUAC is actually where I met a lot of cool people, yourself included. And it has a wealth of information at Enoch Davis Center. Their meetings are every first Monday at 6:30, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty easy. We'll only ask you to come meet us once a month, and you can meet a bunch of cool people. That's where I met Robin Greenfield in the flesh. I'd seen him for the first time there. And Lisa, the president, was the first person that I interviewed on the podcast. So look at that synergy. We're all coming
Yes.
together. So the next thing, you've talked a lot about green living. So tell me, where does your money coach background come from? How do you claim to be someone who can coach people about money?
It comes basically from my own personal experience and having gone on this journey of figuring out how to earn, spend, invest, and manage my money in ways that support the things I want it to support instead of, doing the opposite. And so it's just been a journey of, doing it myself and then learning how to share that with others, and figuring out because I'm not a wealthy investor, and a lot of times the truly impactful regenerative investments are only open to people who are what are called accredited investors, meaning they have a net worth of over $1 million or an annual income of more than $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all of the hard work of figuring out what, as a non-accredited investor, I could do with my money. What are the investments I can make that will, earn me a return on my money, but not be as extractive and harmful as those investments in the stock market. And then a lot about money, especially, when we're talking about, dealing with debt and just better habits. It's a lot about lifestyle design. Money is a lifestyle design tool. And it's getting clear on, what is it we want out of our lives? What is a meaningful life to us? What do we want our life to look like daily? What do we want to be doing? Who do we want to be spending time with? And then helping people get that clearer picture and then start making the decisions so that their money reflects that too, and taking them towards that goal.
So first you got to dream and decide these are the plans that I would like to make. And then you have to create a plan with your money to reflect said goals.
Yes. And be willing to change some behaviors along the way that might be keeping you from moving in that direction.
That part, change. Oh, we like that so much, don't we? So, how does someone acquire your services? What are the fees? Where do they sign up? All that good stuff.
So I have a lot of free content on my website, which they can find at Rich and Resilient Living, a lot of blog posts about this. And I have a free newsletter that you can sign up for on my website. It's called Seeding Financial Resilience. And I send that out once a month with, things that I'm finding that I think are really helpful for people to know in terms of, this more holistic way of thinking about building wealth, tools that people can use. So there's that. There are free things that people can tap into. My coaching services, again, on my website, there's a whole page about my coaching services people can find. I charge $99 for an hour of coaching, or there is a 3-session offer for $279. So there are options to, do it that way. And people can reach out to me and on the contact page if they have other questions about it.
I like it. I like it. Is there anything else you want the people of the St. Pete Time Bank and abroad to know about you, in particular, business or social wise?
I just want, I guess, what else do I want people to know?
Yeah, what's important?
Well, I would like to tie it back to time banking and this
Mm-hmm.
whole way again of expanding the way we think about resources, and the value of connecting with others and building community. I think so often that the things that really bring us true wealth and fulfillment, often are, involve ways of tapping our creativity, connecting with others more, but they're often viewed as deprivation. Like we have this image of a really wealthy life means living
Mm-hmm.
in a mansion, having a yacht and a private jet. But when you think about that, that's not where the happiness lies. The
Right.
research shows that what makes people happy is autonomy over their time. We buy
Mm-hmm.
stuff, we use it for a little bit, and then we're bored with it.
Right.
And so just really getting honed into what lights you up, what really makes you happy, and then recognizing that that's where the true wealth in your life is.
Mm. That is beautiful. Well, I am interested to learn more about you. I got to get check out www.richandresilientliving.com and also Rich and Resilient on Instagram. You want to shout that out one more
Yes,
time?
rich_resilient on
Rich
Instagram.
underscore resilient. Are you on YouTube?
Yes, and that one's under my name, Laura Oladine.
Laura Oladine. So just follow it how you see written on the screen, or we'll spell it out. Laura, LauraOladanie. Check her out. Okay, she's got a wealth of free information, but you can also pay for some one-on-one coaching sessions if you really want to take things to the next level. Do you have any events coming up?
I don't have any events planned, but I do have some pay what you can courses that people can take advantage
Okay.
of. I have one on, it's a beginner's guide to regenerative investing. So I was
Mm,
talking about these investments I've researched that are available to non-accredited investors that, are out off Wall Street and are really much more in line with the time bank way of thinking about building wealth. So people can find that in the shop page on my website. I have a course on building regenerative wealth. So this idea of, we know the concept of sustainable, but sustainable is just sustaining and maintaining where we're at, which right
right, right.
now we need to do more than that. We need to be regenerating and restoring and repairing. And so
Regenerating.
the
Mm-hmm.
building regenerative wealth course it's much more along the lines of this permaculture mentality around wealth and what we've been talking about tonight. So it walks people through, how to start shifting their mindset around wealth and what are the tools in permaculture thinking around wealth building.
Now, what's regeneration for those of us who don't know? Break it down. What is
So
regeneration?
again, if we think about sustainability, we're just simply sustaining and maintaining where we're.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so regenerative is the regenerative is most often used in terms of regenerative agriculture. And what that means
Right.
in that case is that our soils, our agricultural soils, have been so depleted by conventional agricultural practices, with the use of pesticides and so many other chemicals. All those soils are essentially dead, or they've
Mm-hmm.
been lost away. We've lost so much topsoil from this
Mm.
country. And so we need to regenerate and restore and repair and rebuild this depleted soil. But,
Okay.
you
Put
know,
energy, bring the energy back
the
to the
health
things
and
that
the
have
energy,
lost it,
yes.
essentially.
And
Okay.
so that's the soil. But if you look around, capitalism is extractive. So regenerative is this opposite idea of extractive. And so we've not only extracted from the soil, but think about how much we've extracted from human beings, from
Yes.
animals, from nature, from just everything. And
Depleting
so,
our resources at a rate that
yes,
is causing a lot of waste, where we're not even using everything that we're taking, essentially.
yes. And so we
Okay.
can really shift our thinking towards this more regenerative mindset.
Okay, so I have to shout out Caleb Quaid, since you said that with
Yes.
Regenerative Shift. He was one of our first tree donors at the Deuces Food Forest. We just celebrated 1 year. We've got over 50 fruit bearing plants and trees there. So you guys, please come out for our next planting this Saturday from 3 to 8. And then we'll also have another special planting with a sponsor. I'll be announcing that soon, this Thursday, May 18th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So make sure if you are liking this page right now, give yourself a time credit. Shout out to the person who's watching us right now. Share with your friends. You get another time credit for that. And also commenting, you'll get a time credit for that. And you'll get, these are all self logs, by the way. Okay. You're gonna get time credit for liking Laura Oladine's page, going to her website, signing up for one of those pay what you can classes, or the one-on-one money coaching classes. Essentially, any support you are willing to give us in any kind of way, go ahead and log yourself a time credit. All right, and would love to, uh, hear more about what you're doing. So feel free, Laura, when you see this posted on the different Facebook, YouTube, and all that, if you have links that you think, oh, I should have shared that, go ahead and feel free to put that in the comments section. And any final words you'd like to give our lovely viewers?
Oh, just thanks for taking the time to watch this and absorb this message and this way of thinking. And I hope to meet you in person someday.
That's right.
Interact with you
That's right.
again.
And my final word is it's time to put our grown woman and man underwear on, as they say here in the South. And don't be afraid of money and money management, and things that you're not familiar with. Get in touch with it, learn more about it. That way you can take away that kind of fear and anxiety regarding it, and just become better. So I just want to thank you so much, Laura, for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me, and for also, teaching us so much about things we probably, most of us, have never done or considered. And where can people purchase your book?
So if you go on my website, there is a tab there that will take you to the book in the shop, or there is a special website for the book. It's growingfree.money.
Nice. Okay. I love it. Growing free money. Y'all check that out. And I also got to shout out the factory, because I forgot to shout that out last time. And NAPS, GNAPPS. It is a special artist growth program that is located here at the Dream Maker Studio, for allowing me this space and internet, so that we could have this chat today. And you can check me out on Facebook, Ramona Elizabeth, and on Instagram, Natural Vanity, and on YouTube, Natural Vanity 11 at gmail.com. Check us out, y'all. Okay, support. And also Deuces Food Forest on Facebook, and Sunshine Fresh Market. Thank you guys so much for your time, and you have a great rest of your evening. Share this with all your friends. Let's go viral. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. You have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Ramona. You too.
Thanks. Ciao.
Bye.